Yes, you're here again. Another episode. Subscribe or don't. Either way, you'll probably fall asleep before it's over. This story is about why you wouldn't last a day as a Viking warrior. The cold strikes you first. Not the romantic, gentle cold of winter mornings you might imagine, but the bone-deep, relentless cold that seeps through every gap in the wooden walls of the longhouse. It's still dark when Bjorn's eyes open. No gentle sunrise alarm here, just the harsh reality that in 9th century Norway, you wake when your body can no longer ignore the demands of survival. The air inside the longhouse is thick with smoke from the central fire pit that's been burning all night. Your eyes water immediately. The acrid smell of burning wood, unwashed bodies, and the lingering odor of last night's salted fish creates an atmosphere that would send any modern person running for fresh air. But there is no fresh air, not for months during the long northern winter. Bjorn rolls off his straw mattress, if you can call a thin layer of straw covered by rough woolen blankets a mattress. The wooden floor beneath is so cold it might as well be made of ice. Around him, 30 other warriors are beginning their own reluctant emergence from sleep. The snoring, coughing, and muttered curses create a symphony of masculine discomfort that echoes through the long, narrow building. Your feet hit the floor, and immediately you understand why Vikings were so eager to raid warmer lands. The cold shoots up through your legs like needles. There's no heating system here, no warm slippers waiting by your bed, just the brutal reality of northern European winter and the knowledge that this is your life for the next several months. The first task of any Viking morning isn't glorious combat or planning raids. It's finding something to piss in that won't freeze solid before you're finished. The communal chamber pots are already occupied by the early risers, so you join the line of grumbling warriors, waiting their turn. Privacy is a luxury that simply doesn't exist. Everything is communal, everything is shared, and everything smells like 30 men who haven't had a proper bath in weeks. Outside, the fjord stretches endlessly into the morning mist. It's beautiful, yes, in that stark, unforgiving way that Nordic landscapes can be, but beauty doesn't keep you warm, and beauty doesn't fill your belly. The water is dark and still, reflecting the grey sky above like black glass. Ice forms at the edges where the current is slower, and you know that in a few weeks, even this mighty fjord will be frozen solid. Breakfast, if you can call it that, consists of whatever was left from yesterday's meals. Stale bread that's hard enough to break teeth, dried fish that tastes like leather soaked in salt water, and if you're lucky, some thin porridge made from barley that's been stored since the last harvest. There's no sugar, no spices to speak of, and certainly no coffee to help you face the day ahead. Just the basic fuel needed to keep your body functioning in conditions that would challenge a modern survival expert. But even this meager meal comes with a price. Food is scarce during winter months, and every bite must be earned. The weak don't eat as much as the strong. The lazy don't eat as much as the hard-working. It's a simple equation that governs every aspect of Viking society. Contribute or suffer the consequences. After the meal comes training, and this is where the romantic notions of Viking warriors truly begin to crumble. Modern people imagine fierce battles and glorious combat, but the reality is hours upon hours of repetitive, exhausting practice with weapons that are heavier than anything you've ever held. Bjorn hefts his sword, a blade that represents not just a weapon, but months of a blacksmith's work and a fortune in iron that his family could barely afford. It weighs nearly 3 pounds, and after just a few minutes of practice swings, your arm feels like it's on fire. The grip is rough wood, wrapped in leather, designed for function rather than comfort, and it raises blisters on your hands that will take weeks to callus over properly. The training is relentless. Sword work, axe techniques, shield formation drills, over and over until your muscles scream and your lungs burn in the cold air. There's no gentle encouragement here, no participation trophies. You perform or you face the very real possibility of death when the fighting season arrives. The older warriors watch with critical eyes, noting weaknesses, identifying who might crack under pressure. "Your shield on drops when you're tired," growls Gunner, a scarred veteran whose left ear was partially severed in a raid 3 summers ago. In battle, that moment of weakness means your guts spilling onto the ground. He demonstrates with brutal efficiency, his practice axe stopping just short of Bjorn's ribs. Dead men don't share in the loot. The cold makes everything harder. Your fingers lose feeling inside your leather gloves, making it difficult to maintain proper grip on your weapons. Your breath creates clouds of vapor that obscure your vision. The ground is slippery with frost, turning every movement into a potential fall that could leave you injured and useless to the warband. But perhaps the most challenging aspect isn't the physical demands. It's the constant awareness that you're being evaluated. Viking society is ruthlessly meritocratic. The strong lead, the weak follow, and the useless are abandoned. Every action, every word, every moment of hesitation is noted by your peers. Show weakness and you'll find yourself relegated to the worst positions when the longship sets sail. Show incompetence and you might not be invited on raids at all, condemning you to a life of poverty and shame. As the morning progresses into afternoon, the training gives way to the mundane but essential tasks of daily survival. Weapons must be cleaned and sharpened, a process that takes far longer than movies suggest. Each blade must be carefully examined for nicks or rust, then patiently worked with whetstones until the edge is sharp enough to split hair. Your back aches from hunching over the work, and your hands cramp from the repetitive motions. Armor maintenance is even more tedious. The chain mail that might save your life in battle requires constant attention to prevent rust. Each individual ring must be checked, cleaned, and oiled. It's mind-numbing work that can take hours, performed in the smoky interior of the longhouse, while the wind howls outside like some hungry beast. The leather components of your gear, belts, straps, scabbards, crack and stiffen in the cold. They must be warmed by the fire, worked with animal fat to keep them supple, and constantly adjusted as they shrink and expand with temperature changes. Nothing stays properly fitted in this climate. Everything requires continuous maintenance that modern people simply can't comprehend. Food preparation occupies another significant portion of the day. Hunting and fishing in winter conditions that would challenge modern outdoorsmen equipped with the latest gear. Bjorn joins a small group heading out to check the fish traps set beneath the ice. The work involves lying flat on the frozen fjord, cutting through ice thick enough to support a man's weight, and pulling up nets with hands that lose feeling within minutes. The fish they catch are small, often frozen solid before they can be brought back to the longhouse. They must be cleaned immediately, a process that involves gutting, scaling, and cutting in conditions where your fingers can barely bend. The smell of fish guts in freezing air creates an odor that clings to your clothes, your hair, your very skin. It's a smell that marks you as a working Viking, someone who does what must be done to survive. Evening brings little relief. The long winter nights of the far north mean darkness falls early and stays late. The only light comes from the central fire and a few oil lamps that burn with a dim, flickering flame. The smoke from these lights adds to the already thick atmosphere inside the longhouse, creating a haze that makes your eyes water and your throat burn. Dinner is much the same as breakfast, whatever food is available, prepared in the simplest way possible. Stew, made from whatever meat could be hunted or preserved, thickened with barley or oats if the stores allow. The taste is bland at best, often actively unpleasant, but it's warm and it fills your belly. You eat it gratefully, because you understand, perhaps for the first time in your life, what real hunger feels like. The evening entertainment isn't Netflix or video games. It's storytelling, and the stories serve a purpose beyond mere amusement. They're educational tools, passing down tactical knowledge, historical precedents and moral lessons that might mean the difference between life and death. You listen to tales of successful raids, learning the importance of timing, weather assessment, and target selection. You hear about warriors who made fatal mistakes, understanding through their failures how to avoid similar fates. But even these stories carry an edge of competition. The best storytellers gain status and respect. Those who can't contribute to the evening's entertainment are relegated to silent observation, marking them as less valuable to the community's social fabric. Everything in Viking society is a test, a measurement of your worth compared to your peers. As the fire burns lower and the night deepens, the temperature inside the longhouse drops noticeably. The wind outside picks up, finding every gap in the wooden walls and sending drafts across the sleeping area. You wrap yourself in woolen blankets that smell of lanolin and wood smoke, but they provide only marginal warmth against the relentless cold. Sleep, when it finally comes, is neither comfortable nor peaceful. The snoring of 30 men, the crackling of the dying fire, the groaning of wooden beams contracting in the cold, these sounds create a constant backdrop that makes rest fitful at best. You wake multiple times during the night, either from cold or from the sounds of other men getting up to relieve themselves or tend the fire. Your dreams, when they come, are filled with the concerns of the day. Weapon techniques you need to master, tactics you must remember, the faces of men who have judged your performance and found it wanting. Even in sleep, there's no true escape from the constant pressure of proving yourself worthy of survival in this harsh world. But as consciousness fades and the night deepens, there's something else mixed with the hardship, a grudging respect for the men who lived this life by choice. The Vikings weren't forced into this existence by circumstance. They chose it, embraced it, made it the foundation of a culture that dominated Northern Europe for centuries. They understood something that modern comfort has perhaps made us forget, that strength comes not from the absence of hardship, but from the willingness to face it head-on, day after day, without complaint or surrender. They knew that true brotherhood is forged not in moments of celebration, but in shared suffering and mutual dependence. As Bjorn finally drifts into deeper sleep, the wind outside continues its eternal song across the fjord. The northern lights dance silently in the sky above, painting the snow-covered landscape in ethereal greens and blues that no human eye witnesses in the deep of night. The cold remains patient and relentless, waiting for the next day's challenges. And somewhere in that harsh beauty, in that unforgiving landscape that shaped some of history's most formidable warriors, there's a truth that modern life has largely forgotten, that comfort is the enemy of strength, and that the most profound satisfaction comes not from easy victories, but from simply enduring what must be endured. The fire burns down to glowing embers, casting dancing shadows on the walls of the longhouse. Tomorrow will bring the same challenges, the cold, the training, the constant testing of worth and courage. But for now, in the deep quiet of the northern night, even the hardest warriors find their rest, dreaming perhaps of spring raids and warmer shores, but secure in the knowledge that they have what it takes to face whatever comes next. The fjord sleeps under its blanket of ice and snow, and the longhouse settles into the rhythm of peaceful breathing that marks the end of another day survived in the harsh world of the Viking Age.